So in today's class, we will start some of the topics. Last class we talked about 18th century political decentralization of India. So now important topics like East India Company, some of the policies in India. This topic is important for your exam. East India Company was a background of East India Company. East India Company was a London-based company. This company was established in London to do trade with India. This company came to India, officially started trade with India, and this right was given by Mughal Badshah Jahangir in 1615. And after the trading right, in 1757, East India Company conquered Bengal. Conquest of Bengal by East India Company by a conspiracy, Battle of Palasi, June 1757. So 1757, company rule began in Bengal. And this was de facto rule, not in name of company. Company was ruling Bengal in the name of Bengal, Nawab, Bengal king. Thereafter, company in 1765 acquired revenue rights of Bengal. It means August 1765 onwards, company now acquired revenue power of Bengal. So all revenue power exercised by East India Company in Bengal in own name, not in the name of Nawab. So 1765, only revenue matters. This was Diwani right acquired by East India Company. Diwani power means land revenue power. And why this power called Diwani power? Because during Mughal age, Diwan was the head of land revenue department. Clear? So we have a system called dual government or dual administration. Beginning was in 1765. Means two powers in Bengal. Revenue power by company and non-revenue power still by Nawab. Clear? This dual administration was abolished by company in 1772. It means all power is now exercised by East India Company in Bengal. Nawab post was abolished. Means from 1772 onwards, East India Company in Bengal had all the powers. Revenue power it had earlier, 1765 onwards. All other powers like law and order, educational and all from 1772 onwards. So this was called as abolition of dual government and beginning of direct administration in Bengal by East India Company. So 1772 onwards, East India Company had all the powers in Bengal, including educational power. So one of the topics, first topics we are going to discuss is educational policy of East India Company in India. This year IS examination, civil service examination, one of the questions from modern India was on this educational policy of East India Company. ठीक है? Everyone clear? And this East India Company rule in India continued up to 1858. So we are discussing educational policies of East India Company in India. It means up to 1858. Because in August 1858, East India Company rule in India was abolished. In place of company rule, direct rule of British Parliament began. And Parliament rule was in name of Crown. So beginning of Crown rule, earlier it was company rule. So one of the topics, first topic we are discussing in today's class is educational policies of East India Company. So what we will do in the class, we will figure out important concept of this educational policy. Then we can go for answer writing from these topics. Clear everyone? So now come to educational policies of East India Company in India. Educational policies means only up to 1858. Under Crown rule, what happened? We are not going to discuss in this class here. Because the question this year is example only regarding company educational policy. That question was on Macaulay Minute, Macaulay report. ठीक है? So from 1772 onwards, when East India Company had a right in Bengal on non-revenue powers, including educational power, law and order, educational power, and all is now in name of company, East India Company. So this East India Company, this educational policies, we can divide into two parts. Company's policy, only regarding company policies, not regarding crown policy, not regarding British Parliament policies, only regarding East India Company educational policies. So go carefully. If they are asking the question is, discuss educational policies of East India Company in India. So don't write crown policy. And suppose the question is, discuss educational policies of Britishers in colonial India. It means you have to write crown policies as well. So go carefully while writing your answers. So here only educational policy of East India Company. Okay? So from 1772 up to before March 1835. Before March 1835, East India Company educational policies was referred as Orientalist policies. Orientalist policies. Before March 1835, from 1772 onwards, once East India Company acquired non-revenue powers in Bengal, including power and education as well. So before March 1835, East India Company educational policies was called as Orientalist policies. It means Oriental means Eastern, means East India Company was promoting a study of Oriental subjects being taught in India. Subjects being taught in India means Indian subjects. Like for example, in Islam, a study of Quran. So Quran was one of the subjects. Quran is the holiest book of Muslims. Hadith is the teaching of Prophet Muhammad. Quran, second holiest book is Hadith. Muslim laws framed by Muslim theologians is Sharia or Sharia. Even before East India Company, in medieval India, we already had a study of all these subjects. And this subject was being taught in Muslim schools, Muslim colleges, universities. Like Muslim schools are Islamic schools are called as Muktab. Muktab Islamic schools. Where elementary Islamic education were imparted to Muslim kids, children. Madrasa was Islamic colleges. Madrasas, Islamic colleges. So even before East India Company, we have madrasas. In these madrasas, Muslim Maulvis, Mullahs, theologians were imparting the education. It means under East India Company, there was no any change in educational policy of India. East India Company continued with a study of Indian subjects, Islamic subjects, Hindu subjects like Vedas, Upanishads, Puranas, all were Hindu subjects. So there were no any change in educational policies of East India Company. So company continued with educational policies of medieval India, ancient India, ancient India, like Hindu elementary school were called as Ghatikas. In these Ghatikas, basic Hindu education subject was taught to the children. Then we have universities or Mahavidyalayas, where a study of higher subjects, higher education. So when we speak of Orientalism, means under East India Company, there were no any change in educational policies of medieval India, a study of Indian subjects, number one. Number two, they study into Indian languages. Official language was Persian. So still official language of India was Persian. No English language. A study of Indian subjects into Indian languages like continuation of Persian language, continuation of Sanskrit language under Orientalist policy. Persian, because under medieval India, in medieval India, Persian was official language of India. There were no any change in educational policies of company in India. Same subjects they taught in India, in same languages they taught in India. So this policy is Orientalist policy known as. Clear? Why we have Orientalist policy? Why East India Company followed these policies? Orientalist policy. Number one, number one, number one. Belief of East India Company was, if East India Company start introducing new things in India, like Western subjects, English language, Indians may revolt. Because East India Company was alien company, and if East India Company will start promoting new things in India, conservative Indians, orthodox Indians may revolt against such policies of company. So politically, it was not viable to start a study of Western subjects, English language. So the fear of Indian revolt, fear of non-acceptance of new things of company in India by Indians. That was one of the reasons why East India Company followed same policies. Means company wanted to rule the Indians in the ways they were being ruled earlier under the Mughals. Clear? Second fear of East India Company was, and that was genuine fear of East India Company. Second fear of East India Company was, suppose for example, we are starting a study of scientific Western subjects, English language. So these Indians will become English educated. Indians will become expert in Western scientific subjects. So as long as Indians are not rational, not acquainted with Western knowledge, it is very easy to rule India. So fear of East India Company was, if we start teaching Indians English language, in course of time, these English educated Indians will start questioning the rule of East India Company over India. So second important cause why East India Company promoted Orientalism. Fear of English education to the Indians. East India Company was knowing that we are ruling Indians as long as Indians are ignorant. As long as Indians are not aware of what is happening in the West. Because in the West already we have scientific revolution, Renaissance and all. Other important reason why East India Company was not willing to reverse policies of Mughals in India. Not. Clear? Number three. Number three. Number three. In 1770s, even 1780s, before 19th century, East India Company rule in India was over small areas, very small areas. It was in Bengal, not in the South India, not in Western India. Maratha conquered 1818. Mysore was conquered 1799. Means before 19th century, East India Company rule in India was confined to a very small areas. Bengal, for example. So there was no need of the large bureaucracy, large offices in India. So East India Company policy was, we can educate English men in Persian. We'll give training to Englishmen in Persian language, Sanskrit language. And they start learning Persian language, Sanskrit language, so that they can rule over Indians in their own ways. And this was one of the reasons why East India Company started some of the Oriental learnings in India before 1835. So some important educational institutions started by East India Company was, number one, Calcutta Madrasa. Madrasa means Islamic College. So in city of Calcutta in Bengal in 1781, a very premier madrasa was established by first Governor General of Bengal, Warren Hastings. So one of the examples of Orientalist policies by East India Company in India was establishment of Calcutta Madrasa in 1781 by first Governor General of Bengal. Bengal I am saying, not first Governor General of India. First Governor General of Bengal was Lord Warren Hastings. So this was premier Islamic college in India, in Calcutta, established by East India Company Governor General Warren Hastings. Number two, for the promotion of Sanskrit learnings, Vedas, Upanishads and all, for a study of Vedas, Upanishads, Hindu subjects. In 1791-92, Banaras Sanskrit College in city of Banaras, premier Sanskrit College established by Jonathan Duncan in Banaras. Jonathan Duncan, who founded Banaras Sanskrit College. This was one of the premier Hindu universities in Banaras. Study of Vedas, Upanishads in Sanskrit language. Clear? So Calcutta Madrasa, one example. Banaras Sanskrit College, other example. Third, very important example, again in Calcutta was establishment of Asiatic Society of Bengal, 1784 by William Jones. This was in Calcutta, Asiatic Society of Bengal. This was a premier research institute for research into Indian subjects, Indian languages. Clear? So all these establishments were clear-cut example of Orientalist policies of East India Company in India. Means all the Englishmen, even governors general, governors of the provinces. And when Indian civil service was started, Indian civil service was started by Lord Cornwallis in India, a new service, heaven-born service called Indian Civil Service, started by Lord Cornwallis, Indian Civil Service in 1786, ICS, which is now known as IAS, Indian Administrative Service. Clear? So all the ICS officers were essentially Englishmen, no Indians allowed. So those Englishmen, no exam system as well. System was nomination system. So all the Englishmen who came to serve India at the top bureaucracy as ICS officers, Indian civil servants. They came from London, Britain to India to serve Indians. So these ICS officers were given training. So for training purpose, ICS Training College was established at Calcutta, Fort William College. And this Fort William College was started by Lord Wellesley. So in this Fort William College, which subjects being taught to ICS officers? Indian subjects. Which language? Persian. Persian. Because the belief of East India Company was a rule of the Indians in their own ways. If we are ruling Indians in different way, Western way, chances of Indians revolt against English rule. Clear? So this was Orientalist policy is clear. Under this Orientalist policy, these points are clear. So what is Orientalist policy? I have to discuss what is the this policy. And suppose question why this policy? I have to discuss the reasons. A small area, so no need of the large officers, so no need of the Indians to attach to this administration at local level, lower level. No in India. Every branch of administration monopolized by Englishmen because they were less bureaucracy, small bureaucracy. So they started teaching Englishmen Indian subjects, Indian languages. So this all policy is called as Orientalist policy. This is clear. In this policy for the first time, in this clear to all of you. समझ में ठीक है सबको? ठीक है. नेक्स्ट देखो क्या करेंगे हम लोग, टॉपिक को थोड़ा समझ लेंगे क्या क्या हो सकता है इसमें और क्या क्वेश्चन आया है. आई विल गिव यू सम क्वेश्चंस फॉर राइटिंग. नंबर 2, नेक्स्ट, for the first time before 1813 in this policy there were no any obligation on the company that every year this amount of money company had to invest for promotion of this education in India. No any obligation on the company. Means this was self-financing scheme. No obligation on the company to incur some minimum expenditure on education. Not. First act was Act of 1813. By this act, for the first time, this act provided for East India Company to incur some amount of money for promotion of education in India, that is Orientalist policy. Every year, 1 lakh per year, this amount company had to incur for promotion of Orientalist education in India. A very less amount because company rule over India not to educate the Indians. Company basic motive was how to extract resources from India, own economic objective. So this was very small amount, and even this amount was not spent by company for at least 10 years, not implemented. Clear? So this is all educational policy before 1835. Now come to change in this policy from March 1835. Change in this policy in March 1835. And this year question was not on this Orientalism. This year question in civil service exam, IS exam was regarding this new policy, Macaulay report. So now come to how this policy got reversed by East India Company under new policy, and this policy is called as Anglicist policy. March 1835, East India Company Orientalist policy was now reversed, and we have the beginning of a new policy in India from March 1835, and this policy is called as Anglicist policy. Before March 1835, policy was Orientalist policy. From March 1835 onwards, a new policy company started in India. This policy was called as Anglicist policy. Clear? So sometimes the question could be, what was a controversy during East India Company rule on the matter of education? And this controversy is called as Orientalist Anglicist controversy. What was this controversy? Beginning of this controversy was from 1820s decade itself, and this controversy became very acute in 1830s. What was this controversy? This controversy was a group of Englishmen, like governor generals, like top officers of Britain. They now had different idea for India, and this idea was, in place of Indian subjects, they now wanted a study of Western subjects. A study of Western subjects in place of Indian subjects, Anglicists wanted. Clear? Subjects like Greek, Latin, and these subjects were being taught in Britain. So same subjects they wanted for Indian subjects, or not Indians, primarily for East India Company officers in India. Those who came to India to serve Indians as ICS officers, governor generals, governors, top officers. Clear? Why they wanted Western subjects? We are just coming. Firstly, we are outlining. Firstly, we are understanding. What was this new approach? Anglicist approach. Anglicist approach means a study of Western subjects. And such Western subjects, even scientific subjects, technological subjects, and such subjects into language, English language, because they wanted replacement of Persian language with English language as official language, language of instructions in academy, schools, colleges. So this view is called as English system is English language. English language. So this controversy is called as Orientalist Englicist controversy. So controversy is clear. Orientalist wanted Indian subjects, not Western subjects. Orientalist wanted, and which was implemented by company before March 1835, was a study of Indian subjects into Indian language, Persian. Persian was official language of India under Delhi Sultanate and Mughal India both. But now these officers wanted, no, we should replace Persian with English language. Clear? So why this change? Why some of the officers of East India Company wanted English scholars? They wanted discontinuation of or replacement of Orientalist policy with Englishist policy. Reason number one. Number one. Clear? Reason number one. By 1820s, 1830s, East India Company now acquired many areas of India. East India Company rule was over very large areas. Like Mysore was conquered, Marathas were conquered, Western India was conquered. So East India Company rule was now over a very wide area of India. South India, West India, Bengal already conquered, parts of Uttar Pradesh was conquered. Many new areas East India Company had conquered by 1830s. Maratha conquest 1818, Mysore conquest 1799. Many areas of Uttar Pradesh conquered by early 19th century. Means company exercising power over large areas. It means need was a very large bureaucracy, more officers, large number of officers company now needed to rule over the large areas. Large bureaucracy was required. Clear? So if all the officers East India Company could have recruited from London, Englishmen, it was very expensive because the salary was very huge salary, large salary. So East India Company policy was, why not to recruit Indians at lower level of administration? Indians. So recruitment of Indians at lower level of administration, because employment of Indians at much lesser salary. So first policy was need of a large officers to rule for large areas, especially lower administration, not into Indian civil service. Because first Indian who entered civil service was in 1864, Satyendranath Tagore. So no any policy of admitting Indians into ICS. And anyway before 1833, Indians are not allowed into ICS. 1833 Act was, समझ में ठीक है सबको? 1833 Act for the first time legally allowed Indians into Indian civil service. But system was nomination. Exam system began by 1853 Act. So no entry of Indians into civil service. So company policy was admission of Indians not into higher bureaucracy, lower administration, lower bureaucracy. Because their salary could be very low. Clear? So their policy was, we should now train these Indians, Englishmen as well, into English language. English language. Because their policy was, if we educate Indians English manners, English language, the Indians could be now Indians in blood, but English in taste and manner. So the Indians can support us. Their belief was, which in course of time was falsified. Because this English educated Indians now started Indian nationalism later on. Clear hai? So East India Company policy was economic policy. Number one, large number of Indians at lower administration, at lower salary. So we can have less expenditure on salary disbursement. Number two, we can train these Indians into English manners, English language, English test as well. So the Indians could be supporters of English rule in India. And this proved correct for some time because these English educated Indians till 1867 were never opposed to English rule in India. Not. In revolt of 1857, for example, Indian English educated Indians did not took part into revolt of 1857. Only 1867, when Dada Bhai Naoroji propounded drain of wealth theory, these Indians became opposed to English rule in India. Clear everyone? ठीक है? One is clear, means Englishist policy because of economic reasons, Englishist policy because of political reason as well, because their belief was if we educate some Indians English language, Western subjects, they will be supporters of English rule in India, which happened for some time. But in the long run, this was incorrect approach of Britishers. Incorrect approach. ठीक है यहाँ तक? Clear है? Third and the last reason why this policy. Third and the last reason why East India Company from 1835 reversed the policy called an Englishist policy. Third and the last reason. Third reason was, next reason was, ठीक है सबको? Next reason, for example, when company was following Orientalist policy, means Englishmen were given, Englishmen were studying Indian subjects, Indian languages, Sanskrit, Persian and all. So many Englishmen became supporters of Indian civilization. They started glorification of Indian culture civilization. Many of the Englishmen, because of the study of Indian subjects, Indian languages, now started research into Indian subjects, research into Indian languages. So many Englishmen started glorifying Indian civilization and culture. Many. Clear hai? They became supporters of Indian civilization. And East India Company policy was what? East India Company policy was, we are ruling Indians to civilize Indians. Because according to them, Western civilization was superior than Indian civilization. So what was their belief? Their moral justification for a rule over India was a theory called civilizing mission theory. Indian civilization is inferior. Indians are barbarian. We are civilizing Indians. The entire approach, Orientalist approach was going against this policy of East India Company. So company policy was now to wean away these Englishmen from this glorification. And this is the reason why now Western subjects English language. Clear hai? So Englishist policy also because East India Company now wanted to wean away Englishmen from glorification of Indian civilization, Indian subjects. One reason why we have a study of Western subjects into English language. ठीक है? So this controversy is clear. This was Orientalist, Englishist controversy. ठीक है? We'll take down one question. इसको ठीक से आएंगे फिर. We'll take down one question. sorry, for writing. What was Orientalist Anglicist controversy? बताना है आपको क्या कंट्रोवर्सी था. What was Orientalist Anglicist controversy during East India Company rule in India? You have to write only what was this controversy. You have to write what was this controversy. What was Orientalist Anglicist controversy during East India Company rule in India, and why it was so? And why it was so means you have to discuss what was this controversy and reasons for the controversy. Reasons for controversy. That's it. Only this. And why it was so. 150 word limits. You start writing, then we'll come back and start doing how this controversy was resolved. Macaulay report. What is Macaulay report में क्या था इस बार का क्वेश्चन था. Then we can go for second question. ठीक है. So you have about 15 minutes to write your answer. Start writing. Everyone is through now because time is now over. Have to write the answers within limited time. Time could be, this is 150 word limit. So time could be 150 word means 10 to 12 minutes only. Maximum 12 minutes. So how many of you written down this? Within the same time? 10 minutes about? Everyone is through? हो गया? नहीं तो स्पीड बढ़ाओ आप थोड़ा. Though you are still writing, you have to increase the speed of writing. So what was the question? Question was, what was Orientalist Anglicist controversy? तो क्या controversy था बताना था. What was the controversy? Orientalists wanted a study of Indian subjects into Indian languages. ठीक है? Anglicist wanted in place of Indian subjects, study of Western subjects. In place of Indian languages, they wanted Western subjects in English language. So this is what was this controversy. And why this was so? Reason why they wanted these subjects, why Persian language, and why they wanted reversal of those policies in India. So your question was in two parts. What was this controversy and why this was so means reasons. लिखा है सब लोगों ने, यही है ना, लिखा है कि नहीं. सेकेंड पार्ट वाज रीजंस. ये तो समझाया था मैंने उतना देर तक कि why Orientalists wanted to study of Indian subjects and why Orientalists wanted to study of those subjects into Indian language and why they wanted change. और that we talked about. तो दो पार्ट में आपका क्वेश्चन था. फर्स्ट पार्ट एक कंट्रोवर्सी था क्या, सेकेंड एक कंट्रोवर्सी क्यों था, व्हाई दिस वाज सो, रीजन लिखना था उससे. एवरीवन इज क्लियर? हो जाएगा, बाद में हो जाएगा. अगर रीजन नहीं लिखा है आप लोगों ने तो दिस इज द सेकंड राइटिंग आई बिलीव. तो इन कोर्स ऑफ टाइम यू आर एक्वेंटेड विद द राइटिंग्स. हो जाएगा. ठीक है, दिस इज क्लियर. नाउ कम टू नेक्स्ट. फ्रॉम 18 इसी में आ रहे हैं. देखो, दिस एजुकेशनल पॉलिसी could be in many ways. Questions could be in many ways. So accordingly, you have to change your answers. आंसर राइटिंग उसी को सिखाएंगे हम लोग कि कैसे क्या क्वेश्चन होगा तो कैसे चेंज करेंगे आंसर राइटिंग. ठीक है, जस्ट कम सेकंड क्वेश्चन. सपोज फॉर एग्जांपल फ्रॉम 1820 onwards policy this controversy began within East India Company. 1820 onwards controversy between Orientalist and Anglicists. So to resolve the controversy, a commission was constituted. A commission was constituted to resolve, to sort out the controversy between Orientalist and Anglicist. And this commission was headed by Lord Macaulay. So Macaulay Commission was constituted to resolve the differences between Orientalists and Anglicists. And this Macaulay Commission gave the report. This report is called as Macaulay Minute. So what is Macaulay Minute? Macaulay Minute was the report submitted by Macaulay, head of the commission, to Governor General, and this Governor General was Lord William Bentinck. So William Bentinck of East India Company, Bentinck was the first Governor General of India. Earlier we have Governor General of Bengal. Lord William Bentinck was first Governor General of India. And this Bentinck was an Anglicist, supporter of Anglicist views. And Macaulay himself was Anglicist. So what was the report? Everyone was aware of. What could be this report? So in Macaulay Minute, we have the victory of Anglicists. Because Macaulay himself was Anglicist, Governor General during the time, Bentinck also was Anglicist. Earlier Governor Generals like Warren Hastings, Cornwallis, Lord Wellesley, all were Orientalist organizations. ठीक है? What was this Macaulay minute? In Macaulay minute, number one, in place of Indian subjects, now a study of Western subjects, that is the official policy of East India Company in India. Western subjects. The subjects being taught in Britain, Europe, those subjects also being taught in India from March 1835. William Bentinck, without consulting London authorities, he implemented in haste Macaulay minute from March 1835. So March 1835, East India Company policy in India began Englishist policies, reversal of Orientalist policy from March 1835. Clear? In this policy now study of Western subjects, Greek, Latin, all the subjects being taught in Europe, Western Europe has been started. Number two, such Western subjects in English languages. So 1835, English became official language of India. Persian was replaced by English as official language of India from March 1835. And this was done by William Bentinck under Macaulay report. Two is clear. What was Macaulay minute is clear. Third and the very important point in this Macaulay report was a theory called downward filtration theory. Means a downward filtration approach in education. What is downward filtration theory or approach? Suppose here we have East India Company. East India Company in India ruled over India for own economic advantage. East India Company doing trade in India, doing administration in India. So policy of company in India was maximization of profits from India. That was the main profit. East India Company rule in India was not to educate the Indians. No any concept of mass education in India, not. Company ruled India because of own interest and not for the interest of Indians, not. The approach of company was East India Company will educate Western subjects, education, English language, only to few Indians, very few, not mass education. Very few Indians will be given education by company. Because if company will start educating masses of India, huge expenditure was required, which was not viable for company. So company policy, this downward filtration theory was, will educate only few Indians. And from these few Indians, this education will percolate down to masses. So percolation of this education from these few educated Indians to masses. It was their duty to educate the masses. So downward filtration theory means this education will percolate down to masses from few educated Indians. Means in this theory, downward filtration theory, there was no any concept of mass education in not. Okay? Regarding this point, Orientalists had same view. Orientalists also had the same view. The only difference was Orientalists wanted educating Indian subjects, Indian languages, and they wanted no Western subjects, English language. So regarding downward filtration theory, both Orientalists, Englishists were on the same page, same view. Only difference was they wanted Indian subjects. Englishists wanted Western subjects. Orientalists wanted Indian languages. English wanted English language. That was the only difference. So controversy is clear. And suppose the question is how this controversy was resolved, sorted out. Means you have to discuss Macaulay report as well. Macaulay minute as well. Clear है? This year question, for example, this year question was ठीक से पढ़ेंगे क्वेश्चन को. Not your exam, IS examination, UPSC civil service exam. This year the question was एकदम कॉमन सेंस अप्लाई करके लिखना होता है, उसको समझ में आ जाए. सब डिस्कस किया हम लोगों ने. You have to apply your own common sense. This year the question was 2026 GS paper 1 question number 2. लिखिए question number 2 150 word limits 10 marks. This question was on not about Macaulay report, not. This question was about impact of this report on administration and education in India. Impact the question. So don't write Macaulay report here. This question was on, take down the question. Discuss the impact of Macaulay's minute. Discuss the impact of Macaulay's minute on Macaulay's minute बोलते हैं, मतलब minute report को minute बोल रहे हैं हम लोग. Detailed report को बोलते हैं minute. Macaulay detailed report is minute. ठीक है? Impact of Macaulay's minute on colonial administration. So what was the impact on administration? Number 1, not about Macaulay report. Impact of this report on administration, colonial administration and education in India. Question was only regarding impact of Macaulay report on colonial administration and education of India. 151 minutes में. ठीक है? So firstly come to what was the impact on administration. What was the impact on administration? Common sense use करें, यही बताया. Suppose for example, by 1830s, company had conquered many areas in India. Very large area. Means company was in need of large bureaucracy. So inclusion of Indians, attachment of Indians in local administration, lower level, so that Indians could be given low salary. Means this impact was company was now able to administer very large area at a very low cost. So economic advantage to East India Company in administration. East India Company now was able to rule over large areas with help of Indians at lower level of administration. Indian salary was very, very low. So this was economically benefit for East India Company. Economic viability of East India Company. So Macaulay report in administration was economically beneficial for East India Company, because company wanted to maximize profits from India, and one of the ways of maximization was incur less expenditure on administration, and this helped East India Company, because Indians were now able to attach into administration at lower salary. So impact on administration was, this was economically viable administration for East India Company. Clear है? ठीक है? In the long run, this English educated Indians, once drain of wealth theory became exposed to Indians, it became known to Indians. Drain of wealth theory. Dadabhai Nauroji, father of Indian economic nationalism, because Nauroji was the first to expose true character of English rule in India. Otherwise, Indians were not aware that why East India Company was ruling over India. Indians were mistaken that company rule was beneficial for Indians. Because under company rule, we have lot of social reforms as well. Sati system abolished, slavery system discontinued, abolished, human sacrifice abolished. Many of the reforms by East India Company. Lex Loci Act was passed. Many of the reforms by East India Company. We're not supposed to write all the reforms. So these Indians became supporters of English rule initially. Political advantage to company in administration was these Indians became supporters of English rule immediately after English education. And this is one of the reasons why in the revolt of 1857, this Indian English educated class no participation. Because this revolt was for overthrowing of East India Company rule from India, the restoration of Mughal rule in India. So the Indians believed that if Mughal rule will be restored in India, all social reforms will discontinue in India. This was one of the main reasons why the Indians were not participating into revolt of 1857. In the immediate run, East India Company had political advantage as well. But in the long run, we talked about once this English education became known to Indians started studying Western subjects. So they started perceiving the new things about English rule in India. So it was this English educated Indians who became opposed to English rule in India. So we are the harbingers of Indian nationalism, this English educated Indians. So in the long run, it became counterproductive. So in the long run, English education to Indians, education of Western subjects was harmful for Britishers. Because it were those English educated Indians who started political movement in India, which is called the Indian nationalism. Okay. What was the impact on education system? What was the impact of Macaulay on education system? Always common sense. Means a class of Indians emerged in India who were English educated. Okay. Other Indians were non-English educated, vernacular languages educated. So in the education system, a gulf emerged within Indians. Two types of Indians. English educated, snobbish, Western manners, English taste, and non-English Indians, vernacular linguistic educated Indians with not those manners. So on the education, now a gulf difference began within Indians. English educated and non-English educated. Clear है? Because of downward filtration theory. Under Macaulay report, downward filtration theory, only few Indians means economically this was viable for East India Company. So in the education, impact on education as well, it was beneficial for East India Company, but on the other hand, it created differences between Indians as well. English educated and vernacular educated Indians. ठीक है यहाँ तक. So this is all about impact of Macaulay report on administration and education. ठीक है, लिखेंगे आप लोग. This was the question this year. Start writing. Practice करो आप लिखने का. लिखिए same question. Discuss the impact of. लिखिए question. Same question, which were this year IS exam question. Yes, paper 1. Discuss the impact of Macaulay report or Macaulay minute on colonial administration and education in India. Only impact. What was this impact? You are not supposed to write. Only impact of Macaulay's minute on colonial administration or simply administration and education in India. How long? 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Those who are watching online, you can also write. Time limit is 10 or maximum 12 minutes. Only impact, not on this controversy, not region of controversy, only impact of Macaulay report. Don't deviate from the answer. जो पहला आंसर लिखा उसका एक लाइन नहीं लिखना है, ये डिफरेंट आंसर है आपका. स्टार्ट राइटिंग. क्वेश्चन को समझना बहुत जरूरी होता है. समझ लो क्वेश्चन को, आप समझ लिया ना तो सारा काम हो गया आपका. और बिना समझे लिखा तो कोई फायदा नहीं उस राइटिंग का. इसीलिए सेशन है आपका ऑर्गेनाइज किया गया है. सो 10 to 12 minutes. दिस इज 11:14. 11:14 से अबाउट 11:30 तक लिख लेना आप लोग. घड़ी को आगे रखो, सामने रखो आप लोग एकदम. सबका हो गया? टाइम टाइम कितना में लिखा आप लोगों ने? कितना टाइम लगा? देख के लिखो आप लोग। कितना टाइम लगा लिखने में आपको? 10 मिनट्स 12 मैक्सिमम। सबका हो गया ना? आपका भी हो गया? ठीक। टाइम को थोड़ा सा मैनेज करो, बट टाइम मैनेजमेंट इज वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। 20 क्वेश्चन होगा और 3 आवर्स में लिखना होगा 20 क्वेश्चन। टाइम मैनेजमेंट नहीं करेंगे ना, नहीं होगा। ठीक है, एवरी क्वेश्चन शुड बी अटेम्प्टेड बिकॉज देयर इज नो चॉइस। आउट ऑफ 20 टू राइट ऑल द 20 क्वेश्चंस। इसमें क्या लिखना था? ओनली इम्पैक्ट, इम्पैक्ट ऑन एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन एंड एजुकेशन, बस। ठीक है, limited approach here. So up to Macaulay minute is clear. Up to Macaulay minute. Next, this was all regarding Anglicist policy. Beginning of Anglicist policy, 1835 onwards, and from 1835 till 1947, the same system continued with some modifications, some changes. ठीक है? So we are here to discuss East India Company educational policy. तो मान लो कि डिस्कस क्वेश्चन, सपोज फॉर एग्जांपल क्वेश्चन इज, सपोज ये क्वेश्चन लिख लीजिए फॉर योर होमवर्क। अभी समझाते हैं। डिस्कस करना है। डिस्कस द एजुकेशनल पॉलिसीज ऑफ ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी इन इंडिया। ये डिफरेंट क्वेश्चन है। डिस्कस द एजुकेशनल पॉलिसीज ऑफ ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी इन इंडिया मीन्स यू हैव टू राइट from 1772 in Bengal up to 1858 only, because East India Company लिखा हुआ है, and East India Company rule in India continued only up to 1858. So only up to 1858 what happened in India, have to discuss those policies. It means in this question you have to discuss Orientalist policies. First stage, Orientalist policies before March 1835. Before March 1835. ठीक है, लिखना पड़ेगा। From March 1835, have to write on Anglicist policy as well. Anglicist policy as well. Anglicist policy as well. From March 1835, as per Macaulay's report. As per Macaulay's minute, which was implemented by William Bentinck in March 1835 without consulting authorities in London. He implemented. Clear है? In this Macaulay report we talked about during East India Company rule. After Macaulay report, a landmark development in education system, and this is popularly called as Magna Carta of East India Company education in India. And this Magna Carta was 1854 Woods Dispatch. Very very important. So suppose this year the question was on Macaulay's report. The question, a specific question could be on Woods Dispatch. Maybe or may not be. If the questions are general, discuss educational policies of East India Company in India, means you have to discuss Woods Dispatch as well. ठीक है? So briefly about what was Woods Dispatch 1854 and why this Woods Dispatch was called as Magna Carta of Education in India. Magna Carta, any landmark development in any field is Magna Carta. Magna Carta is clear? 13th century का था, ब्रिटेन का था मैग्ना कार्टा। तो एनी फंडामेंटल डेवलपमेंट in polity or in anything, constitutional development, even in education is called as Magna Carta. So what was Wood's dispatch? Charles Wood, किसी का नाम है Charles Wood, who was chairman of Board of Control of British Parliament, BOC, within British Parliament. And this BOC was keeping check on the board of directors of East India Company in London, BOD. Both was in London. BOD, Board of Directors of East India Company, sitting in London. And this BOD was giving instruction to Governor Generals in India how to rule, what to rule and all. This was company governing body, BOD, Board of Directors. How many members? छोड़ दो काम का नहीं है 24 members initially, later on 18 members. And this BOC was a controlling body within British Parliament, BOC, within Parliament, to control BOD rule over India. So this BOC was in Britain, within British Parliament, and this BOC was established as per Pitt's India Act, 1784. That is the act passed by British Parliament, Pitt's India Act called as. So he was the chairman of this BOC, Woods. So he, this chairman, directly turns an order to Governor General in India. This order came directly from London to Governor General. And who was Governor General in India during the time? Dalhousie. Dalhousie was Governor General during that time. Woods dispatch was implemented by Lord Dalhousie. Clear है? So many of the provisions of ठीक है someone is writing something होता है ऐसा बहुत सारा proxy writing भी होता है someone is writing class is very dull monotonous ठीक है I don't know who is writing this I don't care for all these writings ठीक है होता है ऐसा और इवन इच्छुक लोग भी प्लांट करते हैं मुझे आई एम अवेयर ऑफ ऑल दीज थिंग्स सो इफ यू डोंट वांट टू ज्वाइन प्लीज डोंट ज्वाइन ठीक है बोलता है हमको ठीक है मोनोटोनस अब क्या करते हैं बताओ क्लास को डांस करें क्लास में क्या ऐसा बात लिखते नहीं है पता नहीं हु इज राइटिंग स्टूडेंट भी है या नहीं जो लिख रहा है आई डोंट केयर फॉर ऑल दीज राइटिंग्स क्लास समझ में आता है ज्वाइन करो नहीं समझ में आता है मत ज्वाइन करो आई एम नॉट हियर फॉर योर एंटरटेनमेंट आई एम हियर टू मेक यू टू पास द एग्जाम मोनोटोनस है डल है पता नहीं कौन कौन लिखते हैं लोग राइवल का भी बहुत सारा काम होता है मुझे सब मालूम है दिल्ली में ही तो होता है और क्या होता है दिल्ली में पूरा कमर्शियल बाजार पूरा एकदम फिश मार्केट वो इंस्टीट्यूट वाले अपना भेजेंगे प्लांट करेंगे वहाँ जाके वहाँ ये करो वो करो सब मालूम है मुझे आई एम अवेयर ऑफ ऑल दीज थिंग्स मुझे फर्क नहीं पड़ता है कुछ मत ज्वाइन करो नॉट वेलकम हियर हाईली अनवेलकम ठीक है तो ज्वाइन करना है करेंगे क्लास में बैठे हुए लोग आके पूछ लेना इन लोगों से कैसा क्लास से क्या है ठीक है सो Dalhousie was Governor General who implemented provisions of Woods dispatch. So what was this Woods dispatch? What was this Woods dispatch? Woods dispatch was number 1 जो मैकॉले माइन्यूट का था मैकॉले माइन्यूट का कुछ प्रोविजंस था उसका कुछ रिवर्सल हुआ है some of the provisions of Macaulay report was reversed under Woods dispatch. For example, यहाँ क्या था डाउनवर्ड फिल्ट्रेशन थियरी Woods dispatch we have a downward filtration theory means no mass education. East India Company cannot educate all the masses of India. Company will educate only few Indians. And from these few Indians, education will percolate down to masses. ठीक है? Reversed by Woods dispatch. Means in theory at least, Woods dispatch provided for mass education in India. But this remained only on the paper, because giving a mass education to all the Indians was highly expensive and costly. And company here was to maximize the profits and not for mass education to Indians. This provision of Woods dispatch remained on paper only, not implemented. So one of the landmark changes in Woods dispatch suggested, recommended was mass education. ठीक है? Because of Macaulay's report, education of English language only. So there was not emphasis on vernacular education. So its dispatch was a vernacular education as well for schools, some of the schools. Not only English education. There were no any reversal of Macaulay report. English education continued, but in some of the schools, East India Company was to promote vernacular education as well. This was promotion of vernacular education in India without disturbing English education in India. Woods dispatch. Two is clear. And the most important recommendation of Woods dispatch was regarding higher education. Higher education, according to Woods dispatch. For the first time in India, according to Woods dispatch, for the first time in India, we have the establishment or beginning of university system in India. Very important in education was, as per Woods dispatch, in India, it provided for establishment of universities in India. Universities on the model of University of London, on the pattern of University of London in India. Woods dispatch recommended for establishment of universities in India. And as per Woods dispatch, in 1857, for the first time in India, 3 universities were established. So 3 oldest universities established. University of Calcutta, University of Bombay, University of Madras. So 3 universities established in India in 1857. And this establishment was as per Woods dispatch. ठीक है? But these universities from 1857 till 1904, only were the institutes where there was no system of holding of classes. Universities were only governing bodies of the colleges, giving grants in it to colleges, giving affiliation to colleges, giving degrees to the students who were studying into college and not the universities. Once universities were established in India, as per Woods dispatch, these universities till 1904 were not the centers of education. There was no system of, no provision of holding of the classes into universities. These universities were only administrative bodies, giving affiliation to colleges, giving degrees to students. There was no any system of holding of postgraduate classes into universities. Not. No higher education in such universities. For the first time, only in 1904, Lord Curzon had passed the Law Act, Indian Universities Act 1904, passed by Lord Curzon. And this act was passed by Lord Curzon, then Governor General, as per report of a commission, Educational Commission, Relay Commission. Relay Commission 1902 was constituted by Curzon. And this commission gave the report. On the basis of a report of this commission, this act was passed, Indian Universities Act 1904. And by this act, for the first time, in these universities, for the first time, we have holding of classes, education as well. So these universities later on, these universities later on, ये क्या लिखते रहते हैं लोग इस पे यूट्यूब पे क्लास में इसीलिए नहीं देता, बहुत देता ही नहीं यूट्यूब पे क्लास, मेरा एकदम मना होता है दिल्ली में नहीं, यूट्यूब पे नहीं, आई एम नॉट टीचिंग ऑन यूट्यूब. किसी ने लिखा है सर इज द बेस्ट, इसे किसी ने काउंटर किया है, जो लिखा है सर इज बकवास, एकदम मोनोटोनस है, डल क्लास है, तो किसी ने लिखा है सर इज द बेस्ट. इससे मुझे कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता है, ठीक है. ये सब मतलब इतना मतलब कमर्शियल हो गया है ना, और इतना इसमें फील आ गया है इस टीचिंग लाइन में, आई कैन नॉट टेल यू क्या क्या फिल्दी प्रैक्टिस होता है, ठीक है. यू आर ऑल अवेयर ऑफ, दिल्ली में तो और होता है, यहाँ तो बहुत कम है, क्योंकि लोकल है, मार्केट है, लोकल है यहाँ. अगर कुछ भी गलत करोगे ना आप, तो यहाँ लोकल लोग हैं, वो सब लोग जानते हैं, ठीक से इलाज करते हैं लोकल, बहुत जल्दी इलाज हो जाता है. दिल्ली में तो नहीं होता है ना, सब लोग बाहर के आते हैं, लोग सब एलियन से स्टूडेंट्स हैं, तो खुद ही डिस्टर्ब रहते हैं सब बेचारे, बहुत परेशान रहते हैं. जहाँ जैसे मान लो पीजी में जाओगे आप, तो वहाँ एक्सप्लॉयटेशन है, मतलब बहुत एग्जॉर्बिटेंट रेट होता है, मैंने हर कदम पे आपको लूटने के लिए सब बैठा हुआ है. रेंट ज्यादा है, खाना का बकवास एकदम खराब है. जब वहाँ लैक्स में दे आर टेकिंग द हेफ्टी फीस, तो लोगों को लगता है कि अगर 2.5 लाख फी है तो बहुत अच्छा पढ़ाई होगा, यहाँ होता नहीं है वो सब कुछ, ठीक है. तो ये लोकल है, लोकल में भी ऐसा होता है, पता नहीं, ये तो आई वॉज नॉट अवेयर ऑफ कि यहाँ भी ऐसा होगा, कोई राइवल इंस्टीट्यूट ऐसा करेगा, पता नहीं कौन है, मुझे मालूम नहीं कौन, मुझे राइटिंग, ठीक है. बट इन लोगों ने किया है यूट्यूब पे, तो आई वी आर टू टीच ऑन यूट्यूब एज वेल, जा रहा है क्लास लाइव, ठीक है. आई हैव नो हेजिटेशन टू द टेल द ट्रुथ, कोई शर्म नहीं आता है मुझे सच्चाई बोलने में, ठीक है. अगर मान लो कि नॉलेज टीचर का काम समझ में आता है बात, यू कैन क्रिटिसाइज द टीचर. आज तक सवाल कोई पूछते हो आपका क्लास में? नहीं, एक भी सवाल मेरे पास नहीं आया. आई एम टीचिंग हियर मोर देन 2 years, लास्ट 2 years और मोर देन 2 years. ऐसा क्लास टीचर मुझे नहीं मिला स्टूडेंट का सवाल क्योंकि ऐसा बोला मैंने कि ठीक है मुझे अभी नहीं आ रहा है, मैं देख के बताता हूँ. बोलते हैं हम लोग भी, हमारे सर बोलते थे, हमारे बहुत अच्छे से सर हुआ करते थे, सुमित सरकार, ज्ञान पांडे, रिनाउंड हिस्टोरियंस वर्ल्ड का. सुमित सरकार सर का डेथ हो गया, तो वो लोग बोलता था, हम लोग सवाल करते थे, डिफरेंट डिफरेंट क्वेश्चन आता था. तो हर किसी को हर कुछ तो मालूम नहीं होता है ना. क्या समझते हो कि नॉलेज का लिमिट है किसी के पास? नो लिमिट ऑफ द नॉलेज. सब कुछ आता है मुझे? नहीं, कैन नॉट बी. तो कुछ क्वेश्चन आ जाता है ऐसा, बट यहाँ मुझे एक भी क्वेश्चन ऐसा नहीं मिला कि मुझे नहीं आता हो, या मैंने बोला कि ठीक है मैं देख के बताता हूँ, ऐसा एक भी क्वेश्चन नहीं आया. और फिर ऐसा ऐसा कोई बात लिखता है ना, तो बहुत गुस्सा आता है, ठीक है. व्हाट्स डिस्पैच इज क्लियर. ये 3 चीज को जरूर लिखना व्हाट्स डिस्पैच, बस खत्म हो गया. तो सपोज द क्वेश्चन है जो मैंने आपको दिया क्वेश्चन कि डिस्कस द एजुकेशनल पॉलिसीज ऑफ ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी इन इंडिया, क्या क्या लिखोगे, वो तो सब डिस्कस किया. ओरिएंटलिस्ट पॉलिसी, English policy according to Macaulay report, और इसको भी ऐड करेंगे, गुड्स डिस्पैच को ऐड करेंगे, बस हो जाएगा। अगर तीनों होगा ना, इट मीन्स लंबा क्वेश्चन होगा 250 वर्ड लिमिट्स, तो उसको 250 लिख लीजिएगा आप लोग। वर्ड लिमिट इज 250, मार्क्स इज 15 मार्क्स, टोटल 15 मार्क्स, वर्ड लिमिट इज 250 वर्ड लिमिट, ठीक है। सो दिस इज ऑल अबाउट एजुकेशनल पॉलिसी ऑफ ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी। कोई डाउट है और कुछ, इससे ज्यादा नहीं होगा। हो सकता है मैकॉले रिपोर्ट पे इस बार क्वेश्चन हो सकता है आपका भी क्वेश्चन हो सकता है सेपरेट क्वेश्चन विल बी ऑन गुड्स डिस्पैच एंड व्हाई इट वाज कॉल्ड मैग्ना कार्टा। क्यों बोलते हैं मैग्ना कार्टा इसको? कॉमन सेंस अप्लाई करते हैं, मास एजुकेशन का बात करता है, पहला बार यूनिवर्सिटीज पहला बार स्टार्ट होता है, ये दो चीज लिख देगा हो जाएगा आपका काम। So don't miss these 2 points. Landmark changes according to Woods dispatch. First, beginning of universities in India. Instead start of universities. And at least on the paper we have acceptance of mass education to Indians. लेकिन जब इंडिया इंडिपेंडेंट होता है 1947 में, लिटरेसी रेट कितना था? What was literacy rate at the time of independence? सिंगल डिजिट में था, अबाउट लेस देन 10%. तो मास एजुकेशन आया कहाँ? नो मास एजुकेशन. So this remained on the paper only, not practically implemented because of colonial nature of rule in India. East India Company, Britishers were ruling over India for their own interest and not for mass education, not. So that is the basic reason why this provision remained on paper only. ठीक है? So this is all about educational policy. ठीक है? Next we'll discuss other policies of ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी. उसमें सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट है लैंड रेवेन्यू पॉलिसी. फर्स्ट डे डिस्कस किया था हम लोगों ने लैंड रेवेन्यू पॉलिसी. 3 न्यू लैंड रेवेन्यू बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. जमींदारी सेटलमेंट और परमानेंट सिस्टम इन बंगाल, रैयतवाड़ी सिस्टम इन साउथ एंड वेस्ट. थोड़ा सा इंट्रो. We'll start next class. And next class we are not meeting tomorrow. We don't have the class tomorrow. We are meeting on Monday. ठीक है? So ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी का we have 3 new different land revenue systems in India. ठीक है? 3 different land revenue systems in India under ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी. तीनों पे क्वेश्चन होगा या हो सकता है सेपरेट क्वेश्चन भी हो तीनों से. One is earliest was a new system called permanent settlement in Bengal. A new system started. A new system of land revenue started or implemented by company in Bengal to start with, and started by Cornwallis Governor General. Cornwallis Governor General. Only in Bengal. Bengal means Bihar was part of Bengal. Odisha was part of Bengal. So Bihar, Odisha as well. ठीक है? Because under the system, company collected revenue through zamindars and not directly through the peasants. And why called permanent? Discuss करेंगे next class में. Why called permanent? Because this settlement was in 1793 implemented by Cornwallis in Bengal. 1793. So whatever decided in 1793 rate of land revenue that remained permanent, means East India Company had no right to increase rate of land revenue in future. So from 1793 till 1947, rate remained constant, permanent. No hike in revenue. ठीक है. Second was Rayatwadi settlement. Rayatwadi settlement. Firstly in Madras, South India. Then in Bombay as well. Different from Bengal system. So what was the system features and all? Why this was started in Bengal? Impact of this settlement in Bengal. So only different answers. If they're asking impact, write only impact. Features of the system. Discuss features. Why the system started. Discuss reasons only. ठीक है? I suppose the question is discuss or critically examine permanent settlement. Everything you have to write down. So your answer will depend upon the type of the question they're asking. ठीक है? And suppose they're asking discuss different revenue systems of company in India. Means all the three you have to write. Rayatwadi is clear. Rayatwadi 52% area of East India company, maximum areas under Rayatwadi. This Zamindari was only 19% areas of company rule in India. And third and the last was Mahalwadi settlement. Mahalwadi, last. So Mahalwadi was in Northwest Province. Northwest Province, which later became United Province. After independence became Uttar Pradesh. Plus, once Punjab was conquered, 1849, same system extended in Punjab as well. So remaining 29% area of company was in Mahalwadi. Means list area was in Zamindari or permanent settlement. So three new land revenue systems of East India Company. Differences between all these three. What was the new system started by company in India? So all these things next class. So next class will be on land revenue, other policies of East India Company. Next class. Okay? So this is all about today's class. Thank you. Thank you all of you. Thank to watchers of YouTube as very thanks for all these comments. समझ में आया क्या करना समझ में कुछ तो फायदा है से कुछ फायदा है डायरेक्टली से समझ सिर्फ और प्रैक्टिस है कुछ तो फायदा होगा कुछ तो जैसे चेंज हो गया और सारा हाँ नंबर जो हाँ वही पैराग्राफ कुछ और टेक्स्ट ओके उससे कैसे भी वही तो नंबर और जहाँ इसमें मैथ का छात्र क्लास में मैथ और जहाँ इसमें चार दो चार तो जितना हो सके मैथ और जितना हो सके दूसरा पॉइंट पैराग्राफ जहाँ एनालिसिस तो बहुत सारे और जहाँ एनालिसिस पर काम understanding and not about the actual it's about notification and it's like the point when we act that अब लोग कैसे हम को पता point what कोई कोई चालू है से स्टोरी कैसा